There we go. That's hold on. There we go. That should be good. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why. I have these settings saved, but they don't save when I reopen my program. That is just a pain in the butt. Let's see. We're good. Yes, working. That was fast. Let me just make sure you guys can hear me now, right? There's a delay. So, guys, let me know you can hear me. Just confirm. There we go. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. Yeah, it's really weird. It's like I always save my settings before I log out, and it doesn't save the settings. I need to check that. Anyway, since you didn't hear what I said, my name is Joe Tillman, and I've been in this hair transplant industry for 20 years, and got my start right after being a repair patient. After having 2 bad hair transplants in the early 90s, and I've been doing this ever since. Started doing what I'm doing now back in 2015, and here we are today, May 8th, 2023. This is a call-in talk show, people. The phone number is 1-833-563-4247. It is toll-free in North America, and you should be able to call it worldwide using Skype or any other calling app that you might be inclined to use. I get calls from all over, Poland, Argentina, Colombia, you name it, and I get it. Let's see, are you getting messages? I know there's sound. There is sound. Okay, got a call coming in. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Joe. I'm in Bulgaria.
Hello, Joe. You're in Bulgaria. Wow.
Yeah, I'm in the same time zone as Dr. Vischer.
Okay, right on. How you doing, Joe? What can I help you with?
Yeah. Good. So I'm thinking about getting a hair transplant. I've contacted a few different places. So a little background is I'm 41. I've had a previous procedure when I was 24, so it's been 16 years worth of mileage.
Who did that first procedure for you?
LV Armani in Toronto.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good for you. Okay. Was it with the original Dr. Armani? I guess it was back in...
It was.
Wow.
Yeah,
fantastic.
2006.
Okay. And it's lasted you this long. That's good to hear. Okay, so you're thinking of number 2. So being in Bulgaria, have you talked to Dr. Zarev?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I contacted them to see if they had any in-person availability just for a consult.
Yeah.
And they told me November of, wait for it, 2025.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. He's a popular guy.
Yeah. My response was, well, there might be a cure by then. So.
Exactly. All right, so who are the contenders?
Honestly, I contacted Eugenics most recently, but otherwise I had gotten some information from Hassan and Wong, LV Armani in Beverly Hills, Dr. Yu, I think in Manhattan Beach. Derm hair.
Dr. Umar, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And Rahal. And so, those are all of them I was talking to Eugenics just a couple of weeks ago, a little bit more on my first procedure. It was about 1,200 grafts. It was a strip. So I don't know.
Wow. So he had a strip surgery with Dr. Armani. So you were probably one of the last strip surgeries he ever did, because it wasn't too long after that he incorporated FUE as the only procedure he was doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, FUE was cutting edge, right? So they were just bringing it in, and of course you had to pay extra for that and all that stuff. I was like, well, but yeah, I don't know. I guess one thing specifically maybe that I'd like to run past you is, so I have some, it's very subtle, but I have some like traction alopecia from wearing a baseball cap. So it's kind of like rubbed off my temple points a little bit. And then the area below the temples and above the sideburn is a little bit recessed. It's very subtle. But so that's honestly, that's kind of one of my biggest concerns. And one reason why I would maybe like a hair transplant, because I don't think that area could be very well recovered with medication. Of course, I've been on Propecia, Rogaine for like over 20 years now.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering, what your thoughts are on like transplants into that area, if it's possible, if it makes sense.
Well, if it makes sense, I can't say, but is it possible? If there's space in between the hairs, then sure, it's possible. But my question is, number one, why are you wearing a hat so much to where it causes traction alopecia? Legit question. Why are you wearing it so much?
Well, sure. So that was just growing up as a kid. Just wore a baseball cap a lot.
Okay.
So.
And so where was the work that Dr. Armani did?
In the hairline.
Okay. So he did not touch your temple points?
No, he didn't. And actually, it's taken me a long time to realize that. Oh, my temple points are very asymmetrical, and I think it's from wearing a hat over those years.
Fair enough. Okay.
And anyway, like it's taken a while just like looking in a mirror and being right as you're analyzing your hairline and stuff and your forehead shape and everything. And you're like, oh, I think the reason is, this is a little bit off over here, and this is a little bit wider than maybe I'd like it to be. Like,
yeah, I get it. Okay, so here are a couple things. All right, the first thing is everyone's temple points are asymmetrical. So you're not in the minority. You're not. You wouldn't qualify to enter the circus. Nothing unusual there. Okay. I've not met a single person who has a symmetrical face. One eyebrow might be higher than the other, or further off to the side than the other. One eyeball might be a bit higher. Cheekbones, nostrils, you name it. There is asymmetry from top to bottom on everyone's face. When it comes to temple point, you're talking about traction alopecia. I don't know your situation, but when it comes to that area, it in my view is much more likely that it's just continued hair loss, not so much traction alopecia, because you'd have to be wearing your baseball cap really tight every day, all day, for it to legitimately be classified as traction alopecia. Now, there are caveats for everything. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I've never seen it, never heard of it. It's one of the most common questions people throw out there is, can ball caps, cause hair loss? And that's the only way it would cause hair loss. And it's generally accepted to be an old wives' tale that baseball caps cause hair loss. But like I said, caveats exist for everything. Maybe that is the case, but most likely it's not. It's just continued hair loss. So the question is, can temple points be restored through surgical hair restoration? Absolutely. Mine have been completely restored. Mine were not only non-existent, it was almost concave. It's the opposite direction of a proper temple point. They were moving. They're almost concave, moving backward, and that's very common, especially on men with advanced hair loss. It's funny that I've seen cases where men don't have advanced hair loss and their temple points are completely obliterated from DHT, and I've seen guys that are full-blown Norwoods, like 7s, and they have the most beautiful temple points you could ever want. It's really bizarre. Like, it's one of the situations where if you can combine these two people, you'd have the perfect head of hair. But in your case, it's most likely, just continued hair loss, especially over the past 20 years. And Dr. Armani was really good with hairlines and temple points. And so if he felt like it was necessary back then, he probably would have at least suggested it. And if you said yes, then, you know, obviously he could have done it. But today, here you are, 16 years later, it's most likely just hair loss creep, just more hair loss. And that's a place where a lot of people don't realize you can experience hair loss, are the temple points. They do recede. And in some cases, like my own, they go concave. So yeah, that can be done for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of concavity sort of above the sideburn and below, like where the temple point would come out a little bit.
Yep. I've actually had that done myself. The entire area on both sides. I've had, I don't remember how many grafts I've had, but the number of grafts I've had in my temple points from the sideburn, top of the sideburn up into my actual temples, it's several hundred each on both sides. Not quite 1,000 each. I thought it was at one point about 1,000, but I don't think I think it's about 750, give or take, on each side. I mean, they're pretty dense, and they're not very strong as far as like coming very far forward, because if they were, they would make my temples look even deeper than they are. But yeah, I mean, the density of my temple points is pretty good. And so it's taken a lot of hair to build those out properly. It might be a bit more than 750, but it can be done. And eugenics is actually very good with temple points. There are a few clinics that are really good with temple points. Few clinics are actually consistently good with temple points. And so, and that's important to know, because many patients or many clinics won't even touch temple points because they know they suck at it. They don't have much experience with it, and they've tried it and they saw the outcome, and they're like, no, not going there again until we learn more. Unfortunately, there are clinics that think they're good at it and aren't. But for the most part, there are only a few clinics that are good, that are consistent, and are worth considering for temple points. And eugenics is one of them.
Awesome. Yeah, that was kind of the impression that I got, basically everything you just said.
Yeah.
Where it was like, it seems like there are some places that kind of shy away from it, and they, you know, even some of the people that I talked to are like, well, yeah, it's kind of tricky in that area. Yeah. And then I saw some of the work that eugenics had done, and they had a lot of, definitely have a lot of videos. So like their YouTube channels on point, but lots of good examples there.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that's one of the things about doing your research that I think is interesting. When people are talking about doing your research, they're like, oh, well, yeah, but the clinic only puts their best foot forward in, you know, when they're showing their galleries and their videos. Well, which is obvious, like, duh. Like, they're not going to show any disaster cases that may have happened. But when you've got a YouTube presence and Instagram presence like eugenics, it's like, it's hard to argue with the quality of their work when it's more than just a few handfuls of results that it's like it's nonstop with these people. And I remember talking to him when I first talked to him when they wanted to join up, and I was getting to know them a little bit. And then after I accepted them as members, I had a very long talk with Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Erica, and I said the best way to get the word out about your capabilities, about your skill set, is to just keep bombarding YouTube and Instagram and anywhere you've got a presence, photos of all the patients that you can get. Like, just keep updating, keep putting out new results, and no one will be able to deny that you guys are really good. And they took that and ran with it. They've done far more than I ever expected them to do. Like, you know, I tell this to all the clinics I work with. Few of them actually follow through because they just don't have time, and that's fine. But these guys are hungry. They were like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And so Dr. Pradeep, like, he put together a team, a video team, to record all their patients and to just get it out there, obviously with patient approval. But I'm really impressed with how they've raised the bar as far as I'm concerned about just the sheer numbers of results they've been able to throw out there on the interweb. So Yeah. In this case, while you want to take results from a clinic with a grain of salt, like you obviously have to look at them and consider them. But boy, that's a lot of results. So it's kind of hard to deny that they have a pretty good idea what they're doing.
Yeah, that's how I found them. Obviously, was YouTube, and it was kind of interesting because I would always just do like a Google image search, and like I'd always see like the same images on there when you'd search like temple point restoration.
Right.
And then finally, a few weeks ago, I typed it into YouTube, and I was like, holy moly! Like these guys are all over the place.
Yeah. Quite good at what they do. So what other questions you got, Joe?
No, I mean, I guess that's it. I've got a lot of photos that I could share with you if you want. But yeah, it's obviously up to you.
Sure. Send them on over. And can I use them on the show? Can I share them with everyone?
Maybe not on the show. I mean, I don't know what's the best way. Like, share it on like Instagram with you or email or something.
Just Insta. Or do you follow me on Instagram?
I haven't followed you, but I sent you a request like a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Here, hold on.
Yeah, at Joe Tillman Official for anyone else that's interested. Go ahead and send those. And while he's doing that, everyone hit the like button on this video. We're off to a good start today. There's a great phone call, great information. Hit the like button. And if you're watching this and you want to take part in the chat room, talk with the lovely people that are having their own discussions about hair loss and hair restoration and listen to me at the same time and sometimes ask me questions, you got to be subscribed. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for all notifications because I got some great videos coming up. You guys are going to love them. But yeah, Joe, send those to me at Joe Tillman Official on Instagram, and I'll be happy to, I'll have a look for sure. I'm very curious because I really like Dr. Ramani's work back in the day. And I'd like to see what a long-term hairline result looks like from him.
Sure. Yeah, I've sent it to you. My username on Instagram starts with the word the.
Okay.
And then I got in early on this call, like you said, like we're kind of starting the show early because I got to go to bed soon.
I know it's late there in Bulgaria. What are you doing in Bulgaria? Is it for work?
I'm a digital nomad now.
Oh, okay. Right on.
I'm just in Europe. So it's pretty awesome.
I got a couple friends that they're doing the same thing, and Bulgaria. I could do it too, but the wife decided to open a brick and mortar business, so we can't leave. Yeah. So my travel is short term and fewer and far in between trips like you have, where I get to go visit clinics, which is fun, and I do love being here in the Vancouver area. It's awesome. But thanks for calling, Joe. I really appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button, and I'll have a look at your photos, and I appreciate you sending them, and I'll respond soon. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for all you do.
Take care, Joe. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
1-833-563-4247. That's toll free in North America. And you can call me with your calling app like Skype or whatever from anywhere in the world, just like Joe did from Bulgaria. Cut the call. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Nathan, Pennsylvania.
Nathan from Pennsylvania. How you doing today, Nathan?
Doing all right. How are you?
I can't complain. What's going on, buddy?
I just wanted to ask Joe some questions. I've had 2 FUT procedures. The first one, I had some hairs that were, I think, put in maybe in the wrong direction. I had some questions about that.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's hear it. Hit me.
Is this Joe?
Yes. You're talking to him.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, Joe. Hey,
I can't afford a call screener right now, buddy. I'm not. It's not like there's not a production crew here. It's just me.
Nice.
No, I appreciate that.
I've been following you for a while, so thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you very much for the support. Appreciate that. Tell me about your situation.
I'm 35 right now. I've had 2 FUTs. The first one I got just over 10 months ago.
Hold on. You've had 2 in the past 10 months?
Correct.
Okay. Do tell.
So I wanted to go hard and fast and try to just get this over with.
Uh-huh.
So the first one, he did a nice, I had pretty substantial hair loss. It was going to take 2 large FUTs, which I understood. He did a strong frontal band and then more diffused transplant behind it. The frontal band came out decent, except for one side. It seems like the hair is sticking straight up.
Where'd you
8
go?
months after the first one was with Bloxham in New York.
Okay.
So 8 months went, like 7.5, 8 months went by. I wasn't thrilled with the directionality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided rather than go back to him, I was going to try to find someone a little better. So I think it's your hometown. I went to Dr. Wong.
Okay. Right on.
And they had like a cancellation, and they got me in right away. And that was 8 months post first FUT, and I had my second FUT. And my question to Dr. Wong was, do we pull, like, and he agreed that some of the directionality was wrong. Okay. And it didn't lay flat down. It kind of stood up. And, if I style my hair like up in the front, I guess that's okay, but I don't always want to style it like that,
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I've been there.
So he said, well, we can do 2 things. We can, pull out, basically FUE out all those ones that were incorrect, but then we can't really do anything with that area. You're going to have to come back.
Yeah. It's got to heal up. Exactly.
Or we can kind of fill in and pack in some correct, some normal direction hair in that area. And he kind of gave me the option, go either, and he said, either way could work. And we kind of just settled on, we're going to put more follicles in that area, kind of put them in the right direction, and hopefully that will blend it so it looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like 2.5 months ago. I guess my question to you is, what do you think I should have done? Do you think it's kind of too early to tell? So do you think that this will work out, or do you think I'm going to have to pull those hairs out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm okay. In general, I'm a huge fan of, like, if you have a surgery and there's something you don't like about it and you want to get it fixed, and one way to fix it is to actually remove the grafts. I'm a big fan of that. But I'm also a fan of taking your time on things like this, not rushing, not trying to do all at once, whatever the situation is. If there are what I call offending grafts, I'm a huge fan of saying, okay, you know what? Let's just take these out. Any sort of aesthetic abnormalities I wind up getting from this are temporary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give the area the time it needs to recover and heal, which in the case of graft removal is only a few months. It's not like you don't have to wait a year or 8 months or anything like that, like you do with a strip surgery. And like if you're going back into the same area for placement, it's 8 months minimum in most cases, up to a year in some cases. But yeah, I mean, 2 months, 3 months after you have them extracted, you can go right back in and start placing because they've healed up. And that's what I would recommend to anyone that's in this kind of situation. Now, I've seen situations where, back to eugenics, like the previous caller was talking about eugenics. I remember a case that they did where they were actually talking to me about it because I knew who the patient was. The patient was talking to me. And so it wound up being like this, not at the same time, but like a 3-way conversation. I was talking to the patient and I was talking to eugenics, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can probably just take it out and place into the area as well." And I was like, "Really?" I didn't feel good about it, honestly. Full disclosure, like I disagree with my clinics And
that's what Dr. Wong said. He said we're going to have to wait 3 or 4 months, probably something like that, for it to heal.
But in the case I was talking about with eugenics, like it actually turned out pretty damn good. And I was like, okay, well, let's mark that up to as one of those things that you thought you'd never see, but you do. And that was one of those situations. But I still think that's the best way in the vast majority of cases. So in your case, hindsight 2020, Monday morning quarterbacking, all those cliches. It's like you're already questioning it 2.5 months later. There is a chance. There is a chance that you'll wind up going back in there to remove them anyway. So why not just do that up front and come back 2-3 months later to actually place into it. Anytime someone has a repair job, it's very rarely a one-pass fix. I always tell people that if you're going to a clinic where it's like one of these cut rate 30 patients in a day type of places, I always tell them it's like, well, that cheap hair transplant that you're getting in one day is going to wind up being the most expensive hair transplant because you're going to have to go to a much better clinic that charges a lot more money, not once, but bare minimum twice to get it fixed, because removal, redistribution, healing time, coming back in and building the hairline that you originally needed, not wanted, but needed.
Right.
So
and I was trying to avoid that. I mean, I went to two expensive, highly regarded places, and I'm very happy with the second one so far, even though it's hard you can't really judge it yet because it's too soon. But the first one was not a cheapskate place either.
Well, no, of course not. I mean, they're in New York City. It's like there's cheap and New York do not coexist. Like they're not. You'll never see that in the same sentence unless you're comparing one place to another. Both in New York, one's cheaper than the other. But look, on the flip side of it, what Dr. Wong did by placing in and around the offending grafts, they can influence the direction of those offending grafts, not as they exit the scalp, but as you get length. So here's the problem, though. Mm-hmm. Those grafts will always be in the wrong direction, like aesthetically, right? If your hair is shorter, at shorter lengths, okay. But if you grow it out to a decent, couple of inches, where it flops around you want to style it in different directions, like if you want to brush it forward, like a Caesar cut or something, then it can work. And I actually experienced that exact same thing, because my first 2 hair transplants from my first doctor, they were vertical, definitely not in the right direction, definitely not in the right angle. And what Dr. Wong did, he placed in front of them to give me a new hairline. But the grafts that were there from the first 2 surgeries, there was so much packed around them that it does influence them when they're at a length where they can be bent around and pushed and things like that. When it's shorter, they stand up on their own, and you can't brush a buzz cut. You can't brush a haircut that's at a 5 guard. That's a bit too short.
So you had those removed, or you kept them in because you were able to camouflage them?
No, I kept them in. Only one was ever removed, and it was one of the more. It was the furthermost graft towards my forehead from the old work, and after my first 3 repair procedures with Dr. Wong, I finally went to him one day and I said, "Dr. Wong, would you please, for the love of effing Christ, take this graft out of my forehead? It's driving me fucking nuts." Like
just one graft, yeah.
Just one graft, because it would get infected every once in a while, because it was pitted, and it would not infected, but it would get inflamed, and it like for years. And he's like, "Okay, fine." So I went and he took it out with an FUE punch. This is like 2008, I think, give or take. Right. And I got to tell you, man, having that thing taken out made a world of difference. It felt so good to not have that God, I just want to throw F-bombs around. To have that thing in my forehead any longer, it was like it would stand out to me aesthetically. It was just one of those things that, you know, just gets you, just like, God, just that little thing sticking out that just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And then feeling it and just the effects of it. It was like a second repair job. That's how much it meant to me. It was really bizarre. It was like the last visual evidence of the shit work I had in the early 90s finally removed and, you know, gone. So it was a wonderful day for me. But in your case, I would give it time. I always say, give it the time it deserves to do what it's going to do. And you'll know at 8 months, 10 months, as your hair gets longer and the grafts replaced around that area start to fill in and get their own length and do what they're going to do, then you'll be able to tell. And you may be fine with it. If you're really picky, you might start, you might contact them and say, look, can you just take out a few grafts? And that shouldn't be a problem. Like if there's a few grafts that are worse than others, they can be taken out, and it won't cause any problems.
Yeah, and I just wasn't sure going. I mean, I could probably contact, you know, Bloxham, the original surgeon, and talk to him, and he would hopefully be understanding. You never know if these guys are going to get defensive or not. And,
I don't know anything about. I know nothing about Dr. Bloxham. I remember when he was a moderator of a hair loss forum, and he seemed like he was a fairly level-headed guy then. But you know, time can change people. Money can change people. No. Like he's making good money. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe he's developed an ego. Maybe he's a complete raging jerk off, or he could be a super nice guy. I don't know. But all you can do is ask.
He seemed like a very nice guy, and I did want to do FUT. I kind of the old school plan of doing FUTs until I can't anymore, and then go to FUE. I liked that plan, which is kind of his bread and butter. He was local to me, so but. If I do a third repair or a third surgery, you know, to add any density anywhere, I think I'd like to do an FUE. And it seems like with FUE, you have a lot more options for lower cost. It seems like the FUTs are mostly in the States and they're expensive, which is funny because it's an older, more, you know, quote unquote outdated surgery. Whereas, you know, you can go different countries and get FUEs that are very high quality, and you don't need to spend 15, 20 grand.
You can also get good FUT in areas outside the States.
Oh yeah.
One of my guests last week, Dr. Bisher, Dr. Uzlan Bisher in Istanbul, she does FUT surgery, and she's good at what she does. Who else? I'm trying to think of IAHRS members. There's also Dr. Alba Reyes in Dominican Republic. She does FUT. She's a good surgeon.
Okay.
And that's really convenient for you. Going from New York or from Pennsylvania, if you want to fly out of New York down to down to the DR, it's a fairly short flight, easy to get to.
And that's what's the name of that doctor?
Alba, Alba, Reyes, Reyes. Full disclosure, I don't work with her at all, but I know her, and I know her husband, and I've talked to him quite a bit, and I see him at conferences, and I like her work. The problem with their website, like you're going to the website after you hang up, and you'll be like, okay, Alba, what's going on? The website looks like it was built with an AOL free account or something. It's like it's really old. I know they're working on a new one, and they've got a lot of. I actually worked with them. Again, full disclosure, I worked with them a year and a half ago, trying to. They asked me for some help, and so I gave them. I won't say some tips. I gave them a lot of lessons in how to improve their documentation, and they have. Right. They really have. I hope that their new website, whenever whenever it gets uploaded, we'll have this new documentation. It'll be a lot better than what they have now. But talk to them. And I'm trying to think of someone else like outside of the States.
I probably wouldn't do another FUT because I'm afraid my scar might, if I'm losing laxity at this point, my scar might stretch.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm more thinking, and I know you can't like choose favorites. You've got a lot of doctors that you work with. Yeah. But as far as FUEs that are convenient for traveling, that are a good value from Pennsylvania, who can you recommend? Well, I mean, look at IHRS.org. Look at my website, hairtransplantmentor.com.
There are lots of options. I mean, you can go to Turkey. I work with a couple clinics in Turkey. There's obviously Eugenics, which is really popular. Their upper level packages, which involves Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Erica personally, they're not cheap. It's the procedures you get with Dr. Daz or Dr. Daz, which is another doctor that works there. Those are cheaper, and then they have some packages where where Pradeep and Erica are not involved at all. It's Dr. Daz and the technicians. I've not gone into that side of things. Like, people have asked me about it, and I tell them I don't know. I know that the overall protocols are, for the clinic, are really good, but I've not reviewed that particular doctor's work. So it looks good, like from what I've seen, but I've not delved into it. I've not talked to the doctor. I know nothing about her. It's just Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Erica. So they're the ones I like. Dr. Daz seems like she's good. I just don't know. Because I haven't delved into it. And then, there's plenty of options out there. So just check them out and, go with your gut. But I think you're on the right track. And I like the approach that you've taken. And I think that there's a very high probability that after this surgery fills in that you'll be fine. And, maybe just have to want to take out a couple. And that's not worth traveling. Right. That's not worth traveling for. Just find someone local. Go back to Dr. Bloxham. I'm sure he'd be okay with that. And then down the road, sure, if you want something else done, then consider it. But like, do you feel you need more work done now? In addition to maybe taking out a couple grafts, like is your journey for coverage and or density complete? Do you think? Well, as long as the midsection will fill in, because what Bloxham did is he made a nice dense front hairline. Yeah. And then behind it is noticeably thinner. Yeah. And what Dr. Wong said is, well, we don't do it like that here. We just make it, pretty dense throughout. What I'm hoping that with this second surgery, it fills in that midsection. Because right now, if you look at me from looking down at my head, I have kind of like a border. The front border is dense, and then the middle is light, and then there's a patch of maybe more dense towards the back, and then in my crown is then light. So it's kind of like it looks unnatural the way Bloxham did it because of that strong frontal band and the weaker band, the weaker hair behind it. Yeah. So as long as and then Dr. Wong just did the same density, covered everything that Dr. Bloxham did. But did it all in uniform density. So I'm just hoping that behind the frontal band kind of filled in enough that it doesn't look different. Okay. That's fair enough. All right. So like I said, give it the time it deserves to do what it's going to do and make your decisions then. But most likely you're going to be fine. So don't sweat it. I hope so. Well, I'll call back in 6 months or so if it's not. I hope you do. I look forward to it. So, all right. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling. Take care. Right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Toll free, 833-563-4247. That's 1-833-563-4247. Fantastic call. Interesting issue. And I think it'll be fine. I'm glad he called in. And so everyone out there, give me a call. And before you do, hit that like button. Let's see some more likes on the board. I would appreciate more support. And of course, if you're not subscribed, do subscribe and ring the bell for all notifications. I'm trying to line up a guest that's going to blow you guys away. And I just reached out to them over the weekend. We'll see if it works out. I'm not going to give any hints, but this will be the talk everywhere. Like, it'll be a huge episode if I can get this person to come on. So if you're not subscribed, you need to subscribe and then ring the bell for all notifications, because you'll see when I announce this, you'll see the announcement. I always announce my shows in the community section of my YouTube channel, and then on my socials on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Real Joe Tillman is my handle on Twitter, and then I'll probably also announce it on my website. I don't do much on my website anymore. Still gets a lot of great traffic, but I don't do a lot. No, it's not William Shatner or Elon Musk. No, it's not like that. But it'll be interesting. And I've got another potential good guest that is. Let's see if I can give you a hint. He's not confirmed yet. He's not. But I know this guy personally, and I'm pretty sure he'll be okay doing it. I won't say who he is, but he's a dermatologist, he's a researcher, and he knows a lot about oral minoxidil and JAK inhibitors and stuff like that. So that'll be a good show as well. I'm not going to announce his name because he hasn't confirmed yet, but when I do, I think that'll be a good show. And you guys will be able to call in and ask him questions as well. You'll be able to ask direct questions of this very well-versed and knowledgeable researcher. So, Jim Cramer. Yeah. With his baseball bat. All right, so it is toll free, people. Give me a call. 833-563-4247. That's 833-563-4247. It is toll free in North America, and you can call worldwide using the calling app of your choice. Lines are open. This is a call-in talk show. We had some great calls already. I really appreciate the previous callers. Lines are open for more calls. So give me a call and let's talk about your situation and give you my input on it. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Lots of people guessing. Steven Seagal. God, no. See, I don't see any questions. You guys, I love like just skimming real quick the conversations you guys are having amongst yourselves, which is always, it's fun. Let's see. Lots of good comments on that last call, talking about the hairs being removed. They need to be removed. If they're turned around the wrong direction. Yeah. Any questions? Something was going on with the Undertaker's hairline in the late 90s. That's true. I remember that. Rocket Winter Master Renzo 1999 says, but are eugenics good with Caucasian hair? They are. I actually did a video, I don't remember when, a while ago, about that specific issue, because I was getting that question a lot. Because the first video I did, when I introduced eugenics as a hair transplant mentor member clinic, there weren't a lot of Caucasian patients in the documentation that I shared as to why I thought they were a clinic to consider. So we talked about it, and I said, send me Caucasian results for your next video. And they did, and like, they sent me so many results. Like I can't do a video on 50 different patients. It's nuts. And I actually don't like that, because it's so much time having to review all that footage. It takes so much time. And so I picked out the ones I thought were worth sharing, the ones that were interesting, and it's specifically entitled, Is Eugenics Good with Caucasian Patients? I think, something along those lines. But look in the playlist on my YouTube channel that I made about the clinic, and you'll see that video. Probably got Carl, I forgot his last name. Their patient Carl in there. He's from Ireland. He's a phenomenal turnaround. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm making another video for regarding extreme hair loss patients with eugenics, because they've been putting out some results on patients that I would think aren't even candidates for surgery. And it's just like, my God, the hell are they doing? Like, how it's voodoo, people. It's witchcraft. Anyway, the toll-free number, 1-833-563-4247. It's live right here on the Hair Transplant channel. The main event for Monday, May 8th, I am going to go away if I don't get any phone calls because it is a call-in talk show, and I want some phone calls. We've had some great shows in the past several days, lots of action, lots of phone calls, and even today we got off to a great start, but what's going on, guys? Where are you? See some more comments in the chat room. Let's see, but if there are a few adding density, see, okay, yeah, it's still talking to each other. Why does my microphone keep coming down? Anyway, I don't see any questions in the chat room. You guys are talking amongst yourselves, and that's great. Anyone know when CosmoRNA will be on Amazon? I don't see why anyone would know unless they work for the company or they have an inside track. On Friday's The Bald Truth, we actually had someone that claimed to be a stockholder in CosmoRNA explaining why they went the cosmeceutical route, and it's because they didn't have the money to go through with FDA approval, and because they spent all their time and resources on the actual research and bringing the product to market. I understand that. I don't know if I believe it. I believe the fact that it's a lot of money and they didn't want to pay it. I don't know if I believe that they couldn't, because they are a subsidiary, I believe, of a much larger company, a biotech company in Seoul. What's it called? Bioderma or Bioderm, or I forgot the name of the company, but yeah. So I don't think that would be accurate to say that they couldn't pay for it. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I don't think anyone can say when their Amazon store will be open. All right. So I'm not getting any phone calls, and it is currently 3:53. We've been on for just shy of an hour. If I don't get a call in the next, let's see, 43, 44, 45 seconds, in the next 2 minutes, I am shutting down for the day. Not afraid to say it, people. I got stuff to do, videos to make, social media stuff to do, some research to do too. And yeah, so actually, let's just make it a minute because I don't want to sit here and try to keep talking. Think of stuff to do for, yeah. So go to about 35 seconds. Oh, there we go. Got a phone call. All right. Saved by the bell. Hey, you're on the main event with Joe. What's your name? Who are you calling from?
Hi, Joe. This is Parcia calling from California.
Parcia, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I can't complain. Thank you for calling. What can I help you with?
Okay. As you know, I always watch your show, so I thought maybe it's a good time to call you today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a couple of things to talk, but the main event you have, is it going to be just for the short time, or are you going to have it for from now on?
I'm sorry, the show?
Yeah, the main event,
yeah.
You're going to have it like every day from now on?
That's the plan. Yeah. And
that's great.
Yeah, this is my new full-time gig. Monday through Thursday is the main event.
Okay.
And
okay.
I say that now because I'm enjoying it. I can't say with certainty that I'll be doing this 2 years from now. But I'm enjoying it, and it seems like a lot of you being my subscribers are enjoying it as well. But we'll see. I will tell you that it's difficult for me simply because it's the middle of the day when, like, my normal day usually goes from early morning to late at night, but the most productive hours for me are right now because I'm usually placing phone calls to clinics I'm working with, or receiving phone calls, or taking deliveries of stuff that I've ordered. It's a productive time of the day. Probably the most productive time of the day for me, between 3 and 5, and that's usually when I'm on the air. So maybe I'll change the time. I know Milk Drinker in the chat room is begging me to at least go 1 hour earlier so he's in Europe, so he can watch it early in the evening. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. That's the plan, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you to you because I saw that you have great surgeon on your show, and that was really informative. So
thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I've got more coming too. I got more people coming on, more surgeons I work with. I've got, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, I've got a researcher, a dermatologist coming on. He's also a surgeon, but I think his main gig is dermatology, focusing around hair loss. So, yeah, but more guests to come. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And also, I have a quick question for you first. That for the CosmoRNA, do you think if someone doesn't have any side with the finasteride, would it be beneficial to add that to the regimen, or should it be either one of those?
That's a good question. Not only is it hard to say, I'm also kind of hesitant to get into it because no one that we know of is actually on it right now. I highly doubt anyone's gotten their shipment of it because it only became available a few days ago. And that said, we obviously don't have any long-term exposure to it through any of the people that are going to be using it. So, but hypothetically speaking, because they work completely different from each other, I do believe that the potential for I hate this word, but a synergistic benefit is there. It would make sense to me. It would absolutely make sense to me, but I can't say for sure because we just don't have any exposure to the product yet. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was thinking about the same, but since I'm going to have my first surgery in 3 months,
okay.
So I wanted to wait and have the surgery first, and then try that medicine. Or
are you on finasteride now?
Yeah, I'm on finasteride. I just added the dutasteride once in a week.
Okay.
So yeah, and I'm going to have my surgery with Dr. Shapiro.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Does he know that you've added dutasteride to your regimen?
Yeah, actually, he actually prescribed it for me.
Okay, well, that's a yes. That's definitely a yes. Then.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Because in his last show that he had with you, he kind of mentioned that it's good to have it once in a week as an add to the finasteride. So, and there's a study about that in Australia. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so one thing I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I have time or not.
You do.
If you want to go with someone. Okay, thank you. So when it comes to hairline and how the hairline should be designed, I know you made some great video about that, but I always have difficulty to understand. Like sometimes I see some hair transplant results and they're looking good to me, but when I show it to someone else, they would tell me, oh, the hairline is kind of not very natural, or it doesn't look that much natural. So that's one of the
How do they define natural? So, sorry to interrupt, but how do they define natural? Is it too high? Is it pluggy?
Yeah. No,
is it the shape?
Yeah, like a. I don't know if I can name any doctor on this show or not.
Name anyone you want.
Example. Can I?
Yes.
Okay. For instance, some of the work of Dr. Rahal.
No, you can't mention him. You can't mention him. I'm just kidding. Anyone but him. No, I'm just totally kidding. Of course. Go ahead.
Okay. So some of the work of Dr. Rahal, even Dr. Haydawoodi, I'm a fan of it, but some people look and they say, well, it's a little bit like aggressive hairline.
Oh, okay, aggressive. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, or for instance, they look at Dr. Shapiro's work and they say, "Oh, this is so natural to us." So
Yeah.
I just want to ask your opinion. I know you maybe don't want to talk about a specific doctor, but
I don't care. I don't care to talk. I couldn't care less. Like, it's fine with me.
Okay. Okay.
Look, I used to work for Dr. Rahal. I like Dr. Rahal. He's damn good at what he does. No question about it. Like, no one can say that I don't think that, because, like, why else would I work for the guy? Like, I wouldn't work for a crap doctor. In fact, when I started working for him, the office started getting calls from people literally saying, I'll never forget this. I wasn't considering Dr. Rahal, but now that Joe Tillman's working there, yeah, I think I need to have a look at him. So can I have a consultation? It's like, there's a whole nother story. Like, that's actually part of the reason why I do what I do now. Because I was kind of freaked out by that. But Dr. Rahal does have an approach to hairlines that could be considered aggressive compared to especially to Dr. Shapiro.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I wouldn't call it unnatural. Like, I'm not, to be perfectly fair, I've not looked at Dr. Rahal's results in quite a while. I'd say at least a year or two. I don't remember last time I looked, actually, but it's definitely been a while. But I've never, I can't say I've ever seen a result of his that was so aggressive that it looked unnatural, like that it looked out of place.
Okay.
So it depends. Like, these were friends of yours that were saying this?
Well,
or were these people or are these people that study hair and have their own opinions about who's good and who isn't based on these types of details?
Yeah, I mean, it was even some surgeon too that I showed the picture to
of
them.
Course.
And I maybe cannot say the name here, but
you can say, hey, look, like I said before, you can say whatever the hell you want. Like, it's not me saying it, it's you saying it. So you say whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, but I don't know if they feel comfortable for me to say the name or not here. But for this case, but thank you for the kind. My question is, for instance, when we look at Dr. Shapiro's work, that he did that for many years, right? Mm-hmm. And compare with Dr. Rahal, for instance, we would see it like in my opinion, like a different taste of design of a hairline.
Yeah.
So do you think this is just a personal preference?
Of course. Of course. There's no rule book. There's no rule book that says it has to be a certain way, and every patient will have their own different preferences, but also every patient has their own particular characteristics that do dictate to the doctor how they're going to approach that case. Look, it's called the practice of medicine, and you go to 5 different plastic surgeons for a rhinoplasty consultation, and you'll get 5 different answers. Some of them may be very similar, but there's going to be differences that will be seen in each consultation. Same thing with hair. The preference thing, some doctors prefer to be not quite as aggressive as other doctors, and they have good reasons for that. But there are doctors that do have an approach that might seem quote unquote aggressive, but they have their own reasons too, and they're logical. Like, it works out, It's like, you look at the donor region estimates from, say, 10 different clinics, 10 world-class clinics. You're going to get different estimates because, everything about these surgeries are looked at through different lenses, if you will, by different doctors, by different specialists. Some of the estimates have to do with their experience and what the patients require. Let's just take some of the variables out of it. It's the same patient going to 10 different clinics. You'll still have 10 different assessments because you do have different experiences by the doctors. You do have the opinions that are formed from those experiences. You also have a bit of ego that's filtered into these consultations because some doctors want to be known for certain aspects of their surgery that sets them apart, for better or for worse. Like some people would look at these aspects and say, "Oh well, that's his signature move, and I don't care for it." Whereas other people are like, "Yeah, I want some of that." So it's all perspective, and it's all personal taste. As long as the donor area isn't being plucked like clean like a Christmas goose, then it's fine. Donor management, management of future hair loss, all that has to be considered. And if it's managed properly, then aggressive hairlines are fine. Well, we'll say lower hairlines are fine. Blunted temples are fine. And I think that, I know that Dr. Rahal would even agree that those cases are only the way they are because they have the donor supply to deal with the rest of the areas. The patients have a family history and observational characteristics that indicate that the patient probably isn't going to be Norwood 6. So, it's all very specific to each patient. But still, some clinics will not go for that type of hairline, whereas other clinics will. And there's nothing wrong with either way. There's nothing wrong with either approach. You look at, I don't know why I keep going back to eugenics, but it's because I've been looking at their work a lot lately. There's Carl, their patient from Ireland. He's a full-blown Norwood. He was a 6. He was a 6, like a strong 6. And you look at his hairline now, and forget the coverage is great. He's got full coverage front to back. But his hairline is what a lot of people would say is aggressive. It's a lot lower than my hairline. I had a little bit more hair loss than he did, but yeah, I mean, we've got a fairly similar number of grafts over all of our surgeries. He's had, I think, 3 or 4. His hairline's pretty low. It's fairly aggressive for Norwood 6, and it works. It works really well for him. But not everyone's Carl. Like a lot of people aren't Carl. So, the hairline placement will be more conservative. The temples will have more recession, things like that. Each case is different. Each clinic is different. So you got all these variables. It's like trying to shoot a bullet out of the air with another bullet as it's moving, and you're moving in the opposite direction. There's so many ways to do things, right? So, yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should give you a little bit, background about myself. I wanted to have the surgery with Dr. Rahal. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it because of some visa issue, mm-hmm. and then that was a couple of years ago. And then I wanted to do with Dr. Hayat Dawoodi, mm-hmm. and unfortunately, as you know, he passed away. Mm-hmm. And then I choose Dr. Shapiro, mm-hmm. and I went and see him in person, and he examined my donor. I maybe have like 7,000 to 8,000 grafts mm-hmm. that I can harvest. Mm-hmm. So it's more than average, but he was not feeling comfortable for the hairline that I was looking for, like, the hairline that Dr. Rahal probably would do.
What would you classify as your hair loss level?
I think I'm Norwood 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm 39.
39, and you're on finasteride and dutasteride. Okay. Look, mm-hmm. One thing I learned a long time ago is, first off, you're not going to have one hair transplant. This won't be your only one.
Exactly.
Okay. Second thing to remember is you can always lower your hairline later, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I've been through more surgeries for hair than most people on the planet. Not everyone. Like there's some people that have had more than me. Why, I have no idea, but but they have. And I do have an idea. Masha, what are you doing? My dog is dying to get up in my lap here. Sorry. And over my surgical experience for the past almost 29 years, and then you look at the experience I've had over the past 20 years with the the 8 surgeries I've had with Dr. Wong.
Mm-hmm.
I've got arguably some of the, like, nothing to brag about. Like, I didn't do it, but I've got some of the best coverage on such an extreme case of hair loss and a repair patient that's out there. And I'm super happy with it. Like, I'm actually experimenting with my hair again. I'm growing it out longer, so I can just kind of get away from the buzz cut, because I went into I started doing buzz cuts really about 4 years ago after I had my last surgery, because everything was evened out in my crown. I had much better coverage in my crown, and that was my first FUE surgery, and I really enjoyed it. But now it's like, okay, I've experienced that. I've experienced all these other hairstyles. Is it time to lower my hairline? Is it time to bring these temples in a little bit and the hairline a bit lower? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't considering it. What are you doing? Get down.
I see.
So I get it. And it makes perfect sense. And no one is immune to the issue. Not even me. So Dr. Shapiro is a master. He literally, like I said during the introduction of the episode that he was on, was it last week or week before? He literally wrote the book on hairline surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And he is his work and his outlines for how to create hairlines are the basis for what some of the top surgeons in the world base their work on. They've told me this.
That's true.
In person, like when I'm talking to these doctors, I know all these doctors. Like, oh yeah, Ron, his work that laid the foundation for what I did. I really, like, everyone knows that, especially in the industry. So his approach will be fantastic. Trust in Dr. Shapiro. Like, I don't say this very often. Like, I think obviously in general, if you're choosing a doctor, like, don't choose him and then start second guessing it all the way up until the point that you're having your surgery because another doctor gave you an assessment that you think you might like better because it's like in this case, it's like, don't do that. Like, either pick Dr. Shapiro or don't. If you've chosen him, then stick with it, and don't second guess. If you're going to second guess, then don't book with him and figure it out, because it's not at this point you shouldn't be second guessing assessments. You know the normal line of questioning that patients should have in their head at this point is, do I still want to do this? Like, is it what I want? That's normal, but you shouldn't be reassessing the assessment you've been given after you've been booked because of a previous doctor's approach was more of what you wanted and you can't go to him. Like, I understand why, but there comes a time when you need to just like accept, okay, I can't go to him, so I've chosen this guy. He's great. Should be good. That's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, to be honest with you, I was, I'm booked with him like maybe 9 months ago. So it's like I have to wait like a year to have a surgery with him. So that means I had trust in him, as I said. And also, at meantime, my taste of looking at the hairline kind of changed too, because I'm looking at many photos for years, and I'm looking more and more recently. So that's why I asked, is that a personal preference, or is that something that, oh no, this is like a standard? If someone doesn't do that, that means they do not do the job right. So no, I totally get what you say, and that's something that I was kind of not sure for a long time, and then I was thinking, okay, I can get because I totally enjoy my consultation with him, and I even watched your video that you went to his clinic, and that was very informative too. So
Good. Glad you liked it.
Yeah, that was actually made me to go to the Minnesota from California to see him.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask your opinion about Hairline and your taste. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I get it, and like I said earlier on, every doctor has a different approach. Every patient presents a different set of characteristics. No two patients are the same. No two clinics are the same. So that's like it's this huge moving machine, and trying to get everything to line up where different clinics will give you the same assessment. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's one thing you can do is, and maybe you did this already, is talk to Matt, because you're dealing with Zoop, Matt Zupan. Talk to him about the prospect of maybe getting more grafts and lowering, so you can lower the hairline a bit. Not so much the way that the last thing you want to do is keep hammering the doctor you've chosen with questions about how the other another doctor assessed your case, and can they do what the other, like at some point the doctor will be like, you know what, just go to that doctor. It's just like stop asking me these questions, and you understand that you gotta be reasonable about it. But ask him, if you haven't already, if your design can be lower. Have you asked him?
Yeah, I did.
And what'd they say?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna have 3,200 graft or 3,500 at most, and he, as you know, he normally do not do the mega session. So in order to have maybe a little bit lower hairline, it's going to be for the second procedure. So, we talk in person, and he showed me what kind of hairline he's feeling comfortable, and we have to wait for the result, and then maybe for the second surgery, we maybe can lower it like a half of the centimeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know what your situation looks like, but half a centimeter can make a huge difference in it really can in the aesthetic. So you've asked, they've given you the answer. So it's up to you to make that final decision, whether it makes sense for you or not.
Yeah, sure.
It's never too late to back out. Just never forget that. Okay. It's never like if you decide, look, I'm sure the result will be fine, but I just don't feel good about the height of the hairline, then don't have the surgery. Seriously. But if you understand and you're okay with the prospect of a second surgery to get to that point, then that's your choice. But the last thing you want to do is go have a surgery with, arguably one of the best in the world, but you're not feeling on board 100% because it's not exactly what you're looking for. And then during the recovery, you keep looking at it going, oh, fuck, I wish it was I wish it was that half centimeter lower. Why couldn't they have done it? I've seen patients like that before. And it can poison what would otherwise be a very enjoyable process of recovery and a result. So that's why I'm saying to you, if you don't feel 100% on board, then don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. And they'll be understanding of that. I mean, you'll lose your place you've been waiting for a year, but they'll be understanding of it. And, if you give them enough notice, they'll welcome you back. If you say, you know what, okay, you guys are right, let's do this. But you're the one that has to live with this.
Sure.
Not Dr. Shapiro. As good as he is, the result he's giving you is not what he has to live with. You do.
That's true.
Okay? So if you want it to be lower, maybe in a second surgery, or maybe not. You got to make that decision. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And Joe, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Okay. This is, I don't know if you feel confident to answer or not, but the reason I'm asking is because I know you look at many photos and many patients all over your career. So if you want to choose one doctor for the hairline
Nope.
in U.S.
Nope. Not going there.
Okay.
Nope. Not answering
Okay,
that.
no problem.
Nope.
Okay.
There is no one doctor that is the single best at anything for everyone.
True.
Back to your analogy, your comparison, Dr. Rahal versus some people think that he's the best in the world. And that's fine. Some people think that Dr. Shapiro is the singular best doctor in the world for hairlines. And it would be very justified to think so. Some people would think, Dr. Cole. Some people would think, I know people think Dr. Yeager in Dallas. I mean, there's so
in Dallas, yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. They're all fantastic. Like if they weren't, I wouldn't be working with them. They're obviously all very good at what they do. But I'm not here to tell someone that there's one person that is the singular best at any specific thing, because that would be wrong. Not because I work with a bunch of different doctors and I'd start getting phone calls like, what the hell are you doing? None of that. Like, I don't care. The doctors I work with, if I say something they don't like, that's their problem, not mine. I am not I'm not a bot person. They pay me every month to be a part of what I do. But I'm not going to sit here and bullshit people if something's not true. And this is not true. There's not a single person that is the best for every patient. Full stop. That's why I say that. Not because I'm afraid of, not because I have a responsibility to my sponsors. No, I don't play that game. Contrary to what some people may say. So it's just not a fair statement for me to say that. That's why I don't say it.
No, sure. Yeah, and that's why I said I'm not sure if that's a good question that you can answer or not. So sorry if I asked that, but I was just thinking someone who's saw many patients and many patients in general, I'm not going to ask that question anymore, but maybe have a better understanding compared to another patient who just look online for a year or so. So I'm sure you can see things that I maybe can see. So that's why.
Oh yeah, I see things that a lot of people don't see. But there comes a point where I have to forget some of the things I see, or not be so picky, because it's interesting. Like I saw a result posted by a doctor that I think he's really good. I don't even work with him. I'm not going to say who it is, because the detail I saw was something that it bugged me in the hairline.
Oh, I see.
And it would otherwise be considered as a really good result. Like, it is a really good result. It's just sometimes I see things, I'm like, ugh. I'd be going back saying, can you please remove this one graph? Just like I was talking about with the other caller, because it's bugging the shit out of me. So I see things like that, and it's like, even though it's only one double in the hairline, it stands out.
I see.
Because it's surgical, not because it's like natural hairlines that haven't been transplanted. They will have doubles at the front, but because they're not surgically placed, they're softer. They blend better. They don't stand out. Surgery does something to a graft. Like I know what it does, but it's a whole rabbit hole I don't want to go down. But it's extremely difficult to make them look natural in every situation. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't stand out. They're not offensive visually or aesthetically. But I saw this and I was just like, okay, yeah, I need to forget about this, because it's me being a bit picky. Not to the point where, like, when I see these guys that go to these really cheap clinics that do the seagull hairlines, that's not being picky. That's trying to save people. But this is being picky, and I recognize that in myself because I do see things that most people don't see. And if I start pointing these things out to some of these people, then they'll get annoyed at their own result and be unhappy when there's no reason to be unhappy. It's just me being kind of OCD. But anyway, what was your question? I forgot.
I mean, you already answered my question. And
Okay.
to be honest, even with some of your video, you remember you had some video to analyze the hairline between different clinics.
Yeah.
It even teach me how to look at the photos. And now, compared to like a year ago, when I'm looking at the photos, I can analyze that better than before. So I'm sure that
Good.
something comes with experience and looking at more photos. So I appreciate your time. Thank you. I really enjoy talking to you, and I hope I can talk with you
All right.
later time.
Excellent. Glad I could help. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
833-563-4247. That is toll-free North America. Give me a call. Let's talk about your hair loss or your hair transplant surgery, past or future. 1-833-563-4247. I do appreciate that call. He got me thinking about some things, and I apologize for the rant, because sometimes I do go on rants. I do go down some rabbit holes, but I've got thoughts, man. I got ideas based on my experiences, and some of them aren't pretty. So I talk about it. But looking at some questions here, but I got a call. Looks like it's from Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm Yaya. I'm calling from Dallas.
Dallas.
Yes, sir.
But you've got an Atlanta area code. Am I right?
I know. Yeah. I want to show there.
Right on.
I want to show there. So I'm planning a
Hey,
transplant.
sorry. Before you get to your question, can you pronounce your name again for me one time?
Yaya. Yaya.
Yaya. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Hit me. What's your question, Yaya?
Yeah, I'm planning a transplant in India at the eugenics, and they kind of gave me a quote that has the prices, right, from the senior to the top surgeon there, and the price difference is huge, upward to like $100 to $200 has a difference. So I really want to go for the best, but
I'm sorry. Did you say the difference is $100 to $200?
Yeah, as a total cost, they give me 1,500 grafts. So if I make a total like the total cost there, so I just wanted to see not going necessarily for the most expensive, but just what's the right middle to.
Okay, hang on, Yaya. So you're buying a ticket to fly to India.
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's not cheap.
Yeah.
And the difference in quotes is a couple $100 between a lower package and a higher package with the senior doctors.
Yeah, that's correct.
What's the question there? I don't get it. It's just
Instead of going for the best, right? I want to go for the top doctor. Is there like a middle ground that can settle instead of going for the top doctor? Is there like a middle, because they have like 4 packages?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Yaya. I don't know.
Oh, that's fair.
Well, because I was saying, you may not have heard a previous caller. I've not investigated. Like I didn't do the full review that I did with on Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Erica for any like their lower tier doctors.
Ah, okay.
I don't even talk about them. I talk about the two top doctors, and I might review them if Pradeep and Erica want me to. They have to ask. Like I'm not just going to do it. Like they have to ask. But I don't know. I've seen work from these on these. I don't even know what to call them, packages. I've seen work from these lower packages, and they look fine.
Okay.
But my question earlier was, if you're spending that much money to go to India, and the difference from a middle tier package or whatever, or lower tier package to the higher one, where you know you're getting Dr. Erica or Dr. Pradeep, it's only a few $100. why, like, what kind of budget are you on to where a few $100 makes or breaks the possibility of having surgery? Like, is this a bare budget thing that you're going for?
Yeah, that's a fair.
Like, you live in Dallas. Isn't exactly cheap to live in Dallas.
Absolutely.
You're paying, like, you're buying an expensive ticket to India. So spend the money. Like, it's a few hundred bucks is relatively like, to most people, isn't a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So I hope that answers your question, but it's like, yeah, I mean, if you told me it was several $1,000s, then that would be different. It's like, okay, well, fine. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it, and you want to do it now, and you don't want to spend another few years saving up, then I get that. I totally get that. But you told me more than once it was just a few $100. So no, don't spend the money, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah. That's just the way I feel about it. You know, I hope that answers your question. I don't mean to make light. Like, I know a few $100 is a lot of money to a lot of people, but in this case, you're spending already a couple grand just to fly there, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much is your ticket?
At least $1,300, right?
$1,300. Okay.
At least. Yeah.
And you're going to be spending more money than that, like on the incidentals for travel. And are you staying on the compound at the farm, as they call it, or are you staying at a hotel?
At the hotel, because the premium packages have that.
There you go. Yeah. And you're having to pay for the hotel, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not a lot of money, but still, these are monies that you have to spend above and beyond your flight there. And you know, all these little things add up. So why not just spend a few $100 extra on Dr. Pradeep or on Dr. Erica? Right?
Yeah, I agree.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome, Yaya. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Number is toll free 1-833-563-4247. Did that sound like, I didn't want to sound condescending or anything, but it just didn't make sense to me. Like, if you're spending the kind of money you're spending to fly all the way, not to mention the time, like, I don't know what he does for a living, if he makes money on the hour or if he's salaried, but if you're spending that kind of time and money to literally fly halfway around the world, and the top tier doctors that you want are only a few $100 more, save up. It just makes sense to me. What do you guys think? Like, does that make sense? Give me your opinion. Give me a call. Let's talk about it. I actually think it's a good subject. Or you can let me know in the chat room. Yeah, I was wondering if he meant a few thousand as well. Milk Drinker says in the chat room, but I asked him more than once, and he confirmed it was a few hundred, which it still seems odd, but who knows? Yeah, okay, so, all right, good responses, thank you. But yeah, guys, this is a call-in show. It's 4:35, we've got 25 minutes left. I've enjoyed these phone calls. It's been pretty good today. But give me a call. It's toll-free, 1-833-563-4247. Toll-free North America. You can also use a calling app, Skype or something like that, worldwide, to give me a call. Let's see. I don't see any questions in the chat room, so I'm going to give you guys a minute, starting in 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I could not have timed that better. All right. Hey, you're on the main event. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. This is Anand from Hairloss Cure 2020.
Anand! Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Yourself? Great show today. So many calls.
Thank you. Well, it's even better now that you're calling. Everyone that's listening, Anand from the fantastic website Hairloss Cure 2020. You know, you've been one of the pillar. This is my opinion. I think your website has been one of the pillars of the online hair loss community because you've been so diligent in following the non-surgical, like the quest for the cure. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your support of what I do and what Spencer and I do as well.
Hey, appreciate it. You guys came 10 years, 15 years before me at least. So.
Don't say that long. It makes me old. What's going on, man? What can I help you with?
Yeah, so the reason I called is a few things on CosmoRNA. You know, when I listened to the early part of the show from a Starbucks.
Oh, yeah. So that's right. Yeah.
The first thing, they emailed me last week and said it'll be on sale on Amazon at the end of this month.
Oh, okay.
But they were off by like a month and a half before. So, yeah. But generally they're pretty reliable compared to what other hair loss companies.
Well, they have a product now, so that's one thing in their corner. That's one thing in their favor. They actually released a product that they promised. So that's one check mark. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. End of the month. Yeah. So you heard it here first, people. CosmoRNA says, as of last week, their Amazon store will be open end of May. Now, the question is that worldwide, or is it just Amazon, the various Amazon stores in Europe? Amazon DE, Amazon UK, things like that.
So, officially, they, like some months ago, they got approval only in the EU and the UK, separate associations to market this or sell this drug in those places. They didn't even get approval in Korea itself. They had some lengthy article on the reasons. So I'm assuming legally they'll only sell it on those Amazon country-specific
that makes sense
markets.
That makes sense.
But already on my Discord, people, one guy actually said that he had to order to the U.S. From their website, and it went through. So
okay.
It seems like, that even though they didn't file for cosmeceutical approval in the U.S., people will still be able to get it, it seems.
Well, that's good to know. And I know that when I went on their website, it noticed that I was in Canada and didn't say it wasn't available. So I had the option of ordering it. I just don't know if it would have come through. I got to assume it would at this point.
Right.
But who knows? We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't order it.
And
anyone that's I didn't order it.
Neither have I. I'm a very cautious person. Like I take dutasteride and oral minoxidil. Yeah. And those are the only two drugs I ever take in my life. So, but it took me a while. But I will. I'll see what happens for 6 months and then jump on board.
Right on.
But so the other thing is. So they're part of a company called CosmoRNA, which is in turn part of Bioneer.
Bioneer.
And then CosmoRNA.
That's the name. And
then CosmoRNA has its own site. So there are like 3 different sites that if you are really keen, you can check the science in each of those 3 sites. I haven't done that.
Well, I noticed on the CosmoRNA site, the science is very vague. It's very... It's almost like it's written for the layperson that doesn't really know anything about hair loss. Just like they know they're losing their hair, and it's like, oh, okay, essential herbs and spices, whatever. It's like saying, a KFC recipe, the secret herbs and spices. That's all you get, So that's the way that reads. But so the other 2 websites have more of the actual science. That's good to know. I actually meant to spend some time on that this weekend, but didn't get a chance. But that's good to know. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. And then there's a couple of people in my post on CosmoRNA that posted today. They wrote some really, really lengthy and very fascinating comments. If anybody wants to check those. Okay. And one of the guy his name is Andrew. He posted a link to a 2016 study from the same Bioneer scientists. Mm-hmm. And they were using the same technology for lung, I think it was lung fibrosis. It has a lot more detail about the science, and they say the nanoparticles, I think, don't degrade for like a year. And so, most people are not going to, want to read that level of technical detail, I think.
That's interesting. I remember reading something about some sort of fibrosis that was used to treat. Okay, yeah, that's good to know. So yeah, everyone listening or watching, when we're done with this show, not during, don't leave. After the show, go to hairlosscure2020.org or .com. .com. I always forget that. Hairlosscure2020.com, and look for these comments in. Is it under the most recent CosmoRNA post?
Yeah, it's the same. Because of the way Google SEO works, I update the same post and republish it nowadays instead of creating new posts on the same subject.
Right.
So it's a bit confusing, but yeah, some of the comments will be from 6 months ago. But check out the comments for the last 2 days. There are 100 and something comments, maybe 150.
Yeah, it should be easy to figure out. Okay, good. Yeah. That's good information. I appreciate you bringing that to us on the show. Anything else going on?
So the final and the funniest one is so Bioneer on their website today, they had an announcement that people who are buying their shares or who are longtime shareholders don't worry about they had crazy fluctuations this week. I think it went up 40-50%. And I didn't check today, but it seems like it might have gone down again today, big. But they have a warning, and they're saying that don't worry, the sales are going fine. And they say even the women are buying this product, and just if you are a shareholder, don't worry at the crazy fluctuations.
Yeah,
they have a warning.
It might. I hope it had nothing to do with the comments from the Bald Truth on Friday, where Spencer was poo-pooing on the idea of. I think he said that you'll grow a third arm if you take this product. I'm not sure. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. No, I don't want to get any emails. No papers served. I'm just joking. But we were putting a little bit of cold water on the idea of this just because we don't know. And we were qualifying what we were saying by first saying we don't know, but this would make sense, that would make sense, blah blah blah. So hopefully we didn't affect their stock price too much. Maybe.
I hope you did. But hey, so the companies, between the three companies, they've had at the very least 100 press releases in different Korean newspapers in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's why there's just so much hype in this subject,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's look, I got to hand it to them. There have been a lot of products over the past 5, 6, 7 years that have made claims that have said we're coming out with a product. Blah, blah, blah. This is the only one that's done it.
Right.
I've hats off to him. And then with the news coming out of the UK where they're going to start fast tracking approval of different medications.
Right.
That's good news. It means that, maybe some companies will start going through the UK first. To get their products launched, if there's more of a standard regulatory oversight where it's an actual medication,
right?
An actual pharmaceutical as opposed to a cosmeceutical. But it could also be bad news because we don't want to start growing third arms out of our backs. We don't know.
No.
Sometimes regulations are good. And making things take the long road. But I know it's good news for a lot of people that are waiting for these types of products to be available on the market. But again, CosmoRNA, they're the first to market. I don't think we can count Bimatoprost, the eyebrow or eyelash enhancer. I don't think we can count that. So yeah, this is the first. This is probably the first one since finasteride, actually.
Right, or if you count dutasteride in Korea and Japan.
Okay, Mr. Details.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I'm actually writing a post about this whole clinical trial taking so long thing that I'm going to publish tomorrow. I think you'll find it interesting.
Okay, yeah, I look forward to that. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Anything else going on?
Yeah. Okay. No, that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate the call as always, man. Take care.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. It was a Nan from hairlosscure2020.com, great supporter of what we do here. And head on over there after this show, which will be in about 14 minutes. unless I don't get any calls, and check out what's going on. Oh, hey, look, another phone call. That's awesome. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, there you are. What's your name?
Hi, this is Neil from Boston.
Hello, Neil from Boston. How are you today?
Doing well.
Excellent. What can I help you with?
I just want to kind of comment on this CosmoRNA product.
Okay. Yeah, love to hear it.
I used to be part of a Discord that was like this massive underground Discord for all these treatments.
Mm-hmm. Bro science
And
type of treatment or actual?
No, like we're talking guys who make stuff in their bathtub type of.
Okay, yeah, bro science.
Like
yeah.
Okay, like these are the people that get a hold of like all the cutting edge stuff from these labs.
Uh-huh.
And I definitely remember hearing the whole thing about CosmoRNA not being able to afford the FDA approval, so they had to go the cosmeceutical route. That is something that was definitely talked about on there.
Yeah, I remember. I remember reading about this someplace. It wasn't a Discord server, but I think I mentioned. Where did I write about this? It was just today or yesterday. I wrote about this. Maybe it was a comment or something. Maybe it was my description for today's show. I don't know, but I actually find it odd because Bioneer, the parent company, is a pretty big company. So it's like, why now, unless there's some sort of regulation that prevents a parent company from funding, activities of one of their branch companies directly. I don't know. It would seem that they would be able to afford this. And I'm not saying there's any reason other than that they didn't, like in order to fast track and bypass stuff. Who knows? But yeah, I did hear this or read it someplace about Cosmo or about the company specifically not being able to afford. So this was their fast track to market without having to have that kind of financial outlay.
So so that's the rumor that you know about. But the other rumor that I was hearing was that they were planning on doing more trials, but with higher dosage, and have that go through clinical trials. I feel like they said something along the lines of like, this is a test run and they're going to try to get more money out of it, but then they're going to go the FDA route when they get like the funding or something. And then they're going to try it at a different dosage. Cause right now it seems like they're not putting a high dosage on it. And the rumor was they're going to do any
scenarios that cause hair loss, completely different mechanism that's unrelated to what you and I are dealing with, assuming you're dealing with this as well. But it's interesting you said that because I got so many things going on in my head right now. But I'm trying to remember where on Friday's show with Spencer, the Bald Truth, there was someone in the chat room that he was Korean, and he's supposedly using a translator to finally write in English, but he was saying that the dosage is a lower dosage, and it was an affordability issue. But you're saying it's a rumor, and I agree, it's rumor. But you just greenlit for everyone that's buying this to double their dosage to try and get that high.
Oh God! Oh no! I didn't realize that. I'm not a doctor. I don't do anything. I don't know anything. I just heard rumors.
I can see it now on the Discords and subreddits. This guy that called the main event, he said to triple your dose.
They're going to have a whole bathtub full of CosmoRNA now.
It's only $900 for 900 euros for a 3-month supply. But it's the right dosage. I got hair everywhere. Anyway, no, that's you know how this works. So, but it's interesting you said those things because I can't remember where. I'm getting old. I can't remember where I saw it, but yeah, I heard and or read things that were roughly similar on some level as well. So it's interesting you brought that up. Yeah. Okay.
So are you concerned that this is going to open the floodgates for companies to go the cosmetic route? Because, the FDA back in the day, banned hair loss, treatments because there were so many scams. But if you go the cosmeceutical route, it's like a backdoor to scamming people, because we don't know. This could be a scam. Well, it could easily be a scam.
To be fair, it could be. Yeah, I never discount this kind of stuff, especially at this stage. But the FDA didn't ban hair loss treatments, because you got plenty of hair loss treatments out there now in the U.S., like Nutrafol and several, many others that are also classified as cosmeceuticals. They're not regulated by the FDA, because they're considered to be vitamins, or not vitamins, some sort of classification.
Supplements.
Thank you. Yes, supplements. They're marketed as a supplement on one form or another. So they've not been banned. They're just very specific things that you can't say. You can't,
it's going to grow your hair or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I'm trying to think of some of these products that do make claims. I think maybe you got to be very. God, I wish I knew more about this side of things. I think you got to be more upfront with the caveats. We're not saying it's going to do this, but it might do this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they have to be more vague and with their claims, and upfront with what they're not saying it will do. I could be wrong. I've not, like I said, I wish I knew more about this side of things. I don't pay attention to it because it's never really interested me in the least, except for fairly recently because of CosmoRNA. But yeah, that I do know that's true. That it's not, hair loss treatments are not banned. It's just they're kind of pushed off into a corner that isn't considered to be, we'll say, credible. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah, they're not considered to be credible.
I just know that I read somewhere that the FDA had to step in because of all of these drugs that were claiming to treat hair loss. This could have been so long ago before.
Well, there were situations. Born. There were situations okay, for instance, there was Dr. Reddy, not Dr. Reddy, Dr. Lee. Where did I get Dr. Reddy from? Dr. Lee, who was, I think, Spencer was talking about this the other day. I think he was the first person to offer a topical finasteride and his own version of a topical minoxidil, but it was at 15%. And these are FDA regulated pharmaceuticals. And so he was offering these, the generic form, and I think it had to do with the way that he was shipping it. It might have had something to do with the claims, but I think more rather he was shipping it nationwide. And there are or were regulations about you had to have special permission. And I know that's the case now. As a pharmacy, as a compounding pharmacy, if you contact in these doctors, hair transplant doctors that also offer their own topical formulation, they can't just ship it anywhere willy-nilly. They can't just say, oh, you're in Maine or wherever, and just ship it to you. They have to be licensed, or the pharmacy that's making this has to be licensed in each state for them to be able to ship it to that state, even if they're not in the state. So say if you're in Texas, you have to be licensed to ship it to California if you want it. If you want to sell it in California, you have to be licensed to ship it to Maine if you want to sell it to people in Maine, so on and so forth. It's not a free-for-all. So that's where they do step in. And maybe also with the claims if it's something that they already regulate. So that was the case with Dr. Lee, who, from what I understand, the products were pretty good. But 15% minoxidil, how can it not? But when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's a different deal. But yeah, you're right. There have been situations where they've stepped in. I just don't remember the specifics of each. But yeah, it's all becoming more interesting to me. I do remember some of the stuff from my past. But I appreciate the heads up on the bro science stuff from back in the day. That's interesting. Yeah. What do you think? Of it? What do you think about this?
I'm kind of like with everyone else. I'd rather wait and see. Honestly, I don't have a lot of faith.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith because on those Discords, there are guys trying everything. They're trying the other drugs like, I don't know if you heard of pyrolutamide.
Yeah.
It's from the Kintor company.
Uh-huh.
They were saying that wasn't very good. And they said that the RU58841 was actually better than that. So that's just, that's disappointing because I thought that had the most,
Yeah, but I got to ask you something. Where the hell are these guys getting access to the materials to make this stuff?
I believe Minoxidil Max is one of the sites. There's another one called Antigen, I think. There are these weird names. I don't buy them myself.
But I'm not talking about where the guys get. I'm at their sources. Where are they? If you got one place that's making pyrolutamide, and I don't know if it's widely available or not. But how do these people know that it's the real stuff? If it's all this kind of
question, yeah,
that's always been the question to me. RU581 or whatever it's called, that has never been an actual product. It's only been a combination of ingredients from back in the 1980s in France. And you got people today saying that they've got the ingredient, they know what they're doing with this. Where the hell are they getting it from? And how do they know what was in the original formulations? So many questions with that. It's you couldn't pay me enough money to try these things, to put any of that stuff on my head, much less ingest it.
I mean, these are the crazy people. These are the guys that that are desperate.
Yeah,
and some of these people don't want to take finasteride. That's the crazy thing.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah.
You're gonna take the non FDA approved drug, and you're not worried about the side effects from this one, but God forbid you can have a small chance of having erectile dysfunction that would be temporary, as long as if you want to get off the treatment, it'll likely reverse. They would rather not go with the drug that's tried and tested, has phase 4 clinical studies, and has 25 plus years of data. They're going to go with the gamble.
Of course. I remember in the early 2000s when I was working in clinic, and I had a patient that he had he wanted the surgery, but it was after he and a buddy of his, the guy lived here in Canada, but his buddy was in California, and they would meet up and talk about this stuff and exchange products because they would order dutasteride powder from China in bulk, and they would actually get together once
and
every,
apply it topically.
Well, they would do a couple of things. They would make their own capsules of, God, how many? This is so long ago. They would make their own capsules, and they were taking 15 milligrams a day of dutasteride. Is something crazy, and they were creating their own topical with it, because you got to remember, back in the day, dutasteride was the new thing that was so much better than finasteride, and the guy had moderate results, I guess, but it was one of those things where I was left scratching my head. It's you're doing all of this, but you won't take finasteride, just like you said, and you're still in need for surgery. What do you actually think you're hanging on to? And ironically, he had a surgery, big surgery, a lot of hair moved, and he had a second surgery, beautiful results. About 7 years later, he was back in clinic. Not only had his result thinned, his donor had thinned. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
And he's no longer a candidate for surgery. His buddy in California is wearing a wig now. Not a very good one either, I must say. I'm disappointed to see he's wearing a bad wig. I need to talk to. I need to steer him in the direction of a good wig. But that's yeah, I have limited experience with that stuff or exposure to that kind of thing, but that's one of them. And I think about it, and it just kind of reminds me, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
there's a reason why you don't get involved with that stuff.
Dutasteride, dutasteride is like a more stronger finasteride. Why would they not be? It's the same mechanism. Why would they be afraid of finasteride but not the stronger alternative?
You got me, bro.
And
you got me.
And honestly, like if it should have worked. If they were taking 15 milligrams of dutasteride daily, then you know what? One thing that I hear about all the time on these discords is the concept of purity. They're like, oh, I got this drug, I got the topical piralutamide at 99% purity, and I honestly don't know what that even means.
Thank you.
Like, what do they even mean by 99% purity? Like,
yeah.
What's that extra 1% mean?
Like, are they like experienced cartel members where they can just dip it and taste it with their tongue and say, oh yeah, it's about 99%. Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously I'm joking, but it's like, what BS are these guys putting out? This is it. It's 99% pure. How in the F would anyone know that? Now HL Hair Loss Cure 2020 is in the chat room, and he's saying that, someone else was saying that, Jefferson in the chat room saying that some people order it direct from the manufacturer, saying that they're researchers. And I get that, but how long can that go on? And how long and how much distribution can you get out of that? It doesn't fly. None of this makes sense to me. I think a lot of this talk is just that. It's people making shit up in these chat rooms just to get and this is not an unknown thing, like an unknown issue. There have been a lot of situations where these kinds of groups are, get together, and there's always that guy or those few guys that want to be seen as, the big swinging thing in the room because they know everything. And they're the first ones to smack down any dissent, saying, oh, you're an idiot. You know shit about this. This is true. Everyone knows it. Go away. That kind of thing. And they're the ones that are making everything up.
Yeah, I sometimes look at Trust List a little bit. I mean, I'm banned from it, so I can't really comment on there anymore. But I do like to see.
I got it. Hang on. You can't say that and not tell me why. Why are you banned from Trust List?
For telling the truth. Some guy got a bad hair transplant, and I just said, look, man, I wouldn't be happy with this result.
Yeah.
And because the guy was, unhappy, I don't know. It was a very negative review, and, I get this type of reaction on I don't do our hair transplants anymore. I don't go on there anymore. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because no one listens. No one listens. I'm like, I got better things to do. I might go on there occasionally. I might just check out and see what you're going to respond to, because it's free advice.
Well,
basically,
I'll stop you right there and tell you that I'm not going to respond to anything. I made a decision to move away from that because I tried. Like, I went in there and I was preaching some real truth that people didn't want to hear, and I got some shit for it. But I'm of the opinion now that if I don't say something, who will? No one will. Because you got these guys saying, wow, that's good for you. Which clinic was this? Which we all know is bullshit. Like, they're not real people. Like, you don't see, a toothbrush sticking out some guy's forehead and ask him, wow, that looks great. Where did you go? I want to go there too. How much was it? Like, that's such horseshit. There's so much of that going on. But more than that, like, I got pulled into some discussions, and I was warned that this would happen. You're right.
Is this the one about specs?
No, not even that. Not even that. There's just some discussions where I was mentioned for no reason. I was brought into these discussions, and like, I don't care if someone says something bad about me, but when you make shit up about me that's simply not true, and I'm not even in a position where I can respond the way I would normally respond, or else it's like there's a rule there that doesn't make any sense. Like, you look at the description, it says we're here to protect patients and to blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, everyone says that. But when you've got all these horrific experiences, I can't say experiences, but horrific results being paraded by patients, and then all these anonymous people saying how great it looks and propping it up, and we all know they're fake people. And then someone comes in that speaks the truth, that actually knows what the hell he's talking about, yours truly, and I can't respond to criticism, or else I'm the bad guy, and I'm the one putting a timeout.
So is the mod censoring what you're saying, or
no? The situation is like you look at the rules, and there's rule number 2, where I can't, like, if someone's throwing expletives at me, which happens all the time, I can't respond in kind. Which, like, and that's fine, but I can't get into the nitty gritty without being I don't want to say censored, but being warned about being rude to patients or something like that. It's really weird.
Kind of like how it ended for me with Trestless, because I got into the nitty gritty and I went, and I've been warned before by the mods, and I think the mods are part of the problem, that they want a certain space. I don't want to say safe space, but they want order in their forum, because it's their forum. And I actually, there's another forum called r/bald where, I don't go on there a lot, but sometimes I'm scrolling through the feed on Reddit, and there's a guy saying, what should I do? I'm losing my hair. And one time I suggested, well, I mean, you only have a little bit of hair loss. If you get on the treatments, you'll be fine. And I got in huge trouble with the mod saying, you cannot post, about treatments. It's only for, like, accepting the hair loss and shaving your head. And I thought, well, I mean, if this guy really, he's not far gone, what's the problem in at least giving him that information? Maybe he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But they just delete your post and say the post is removed by the mods for, it's like controlling people. And that's why I got off our hair transplants, because there is sort of like this, the mods are the main reason. I mean, they try to control the narrative. They try to control what people say. I mean, you go on other forums, you don't really have that level of moderation like you do on Reddit. But unfortunately, those forums don't have as much of a large community that Reddit has.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it kind of works. I mean, well, there's the good and the bad with Reddit.
It's all toxic to varying degrees. The issue with that one subreddit is with the moderation rules. It's odd how they say we're here to protect the patients, but they have no problem with all kinds of bad information being given. I was invited, actually, to take part on that subreddit. I was invited by the mods. And so when I didn't take him up on it for like several months, but then when I finally joined it, or started taking part, I did notice that in one thread where someone in the industry was being dragged through the mud, and I gave my 2 cents on the issue, the response was way over the top and unnecessary, and unreasonable. I thought the whole situation was unreasonable. It's like, well, people make mistakes. Like, can't people have a chance to, defend themselves and actually explain themselves? No, apparently they don't. And I didn't like that. But, what you think about a person is irrelevant. Like, fair is fair. Like, same thing in politics. Like, I don't, like, if I firmly disagree with someone, they still have a right to speak. And it's just strange. The whole Trestless thing. Here's a funny one. I was banned from there. I was actually banned from there, and then eventually I was let back on. But I was banned from there because I was posting links to first off, I was answering questions and helping people out, and then I was also sharing the link to the show with Spencer. And if you've been following me for any amount of time or following us, we don't sell shit. Like, we just talk. We just answer phone calls and talk to people and answer the questions. And we don't even direct people to, like, we don't sell surgery. But they said, self-promotion for, I forgot what the wording was, but it made it sound like for selling stuff. And that's obviously the most uninformed response you could get, because that's the exact opposite of what we do. And then, like, they lifted it and said, just can't post links to the show. And I was like, okay, well, you're just trying to maybe there's sponsorships. I don't know, but it's like, it makes no sense why you'd want to censor that or ban it.
And I feel like that's another problem with the mods, is that they don't consider all the good work you do. You do one bad thing and you're gone. You're banned.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be 100% good on their forum. You could be 99% of the time great, informative, and that's what I tried to do on Trustless. I gave people direct and preached basically what you preach, because I watched a lot of your videos.
Thank you.
Like the lessons. Mm-hmm. And I preached that stuff. But as soon as I get really I don't want to say mean, but sometimes I get brutally honest with people.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets you banned, because you are now, like, hurting someone's feelings for telling the truth, and they can't accept that. And in spite of all the stuff that you did on Trustless, everything I spent like a year helping people there.
Yeah.
The mods don't care. They don't look at that. They just see one bad post and they just say banned. They're done.
Well, and that's the problem with any organization that you don't have control of. Someone else does, and they usually have they have their, I don't want to say their motive, that like their, they all have their motives, whether it be financial, whether it be some sort of mental quirk that they're dealing with that skews their worldview in a way that just doesn't make any sense. So what do? You can't control it. You just do. I did what I could to help, and I messaged the moderator. I was like, "You invited me here. I did what I could to help. I'm out. This is not a healthy environment." And I found myself thinking about it way too much. Like, it was actually affecting my work. Like, not what people were saying about, like, again, I don't give a shit about that, but situations where someone was maybe arguing with me. And it's like, it reminded me of my early forum days when I was, where I made a name for myself, when I was Joetronic. Like, I would get into these long, drawn out tit for tat debates, and I didn't want to go back there because it's too time consuming. Like, I don't have time for that kind of thing. I don't want to be involved in that anymore. And I don't have time for it. So it is what it is. But when it comes to being brutally honest, I'm of the opinion now, if someone's asking me or asking a group and I'm there, be prepared for my answer. Because when I give an answer to someone that's asking in a public space, I'm not giving an answer for you. I'm giving an answer for everyone else that's reading it, so that they can learn from your mistake. If it's indeed a mistake, like if it's a great result, like I would say, yeah, that looks really good. But if it looks like something out of 1983, I'd say so that everyone else could understand and maybe think twice before they make the decision to have surgery, especially with where the person originally asking the question went to themselves. Like, find some other place. If you're going to do this, don't go here, because they obviously don't know what they're doing. And what also gets me, and I guess I'm going off on a rant, but I'm going to wrap it up, are these experts that keep throwing out names of who the best are, and I'm just shaking my head. It's like, have you even looked at the results of these people you're praising? You have no idea. Like, there's this one guy, he obviously watches the show, because I would see little Joeisms that I say all the time. I would see that he would say them too. It's like, oh, okay, he obviously watches the show. But man, there's a big there's a big difference.
That might be me, but I don't recommend any doctors.
No, it's I can tell it's not you. I actually no, it's definitely not you. Like, obviously, reading comprehension is pretty good on some of these people, but when it comes to applying it, not very good. because they would make some recommendations where I'm just scratching my head like, how like, you seem so smart. I'm disappointed. Like, how can you make these kinds of recommendations? Anyway, so enough about that. Like, it doesn't matter. It has no effect on how I do things. I'm glad I'm not really, like, I read it. Like, I'm still a member, and I get notifications on my phone, and I will read, but I don't take part. I'm not saying I won't. Like, if I see something that's really atrocious or really just, how can I say, blatantly false about something, I might chime in, but until that day, I'm not volunteering any information. It's just not, I got too much to do. It's too much of a time waster for me. But I appreciate your call. It's about some subjects that I don't really talk about, and it was some nice insight into some early references to the RNA type of product through CosmoRNA. And thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it. It's was it 5:18 Pacific time right now? It's time to wrap up. So I'm going to let you go. Sorry, what was your name again?
Neil. I actually did have one question, quick question.
Sure.
So like one caller 2 calls ago talked about how Shapiro always recommended or maybe recommended him 1 dose of dutasteride a week.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I called, I did ask about adding dutasteride to my regimen with Proprecia, and you told me to wait a few months. It's been maybe 2 to 3 months now, and I think maybe my hairline has gotten. It's been getting a tiny bit worse every single 2 or 3 months, and I'm thinking, I don't want surgery. I don't want to ever get to that point. I remember. I remember you. I feel like I have to. Yeah, I have to do everything in my power to throw the kitchen, not throw the kitchen sink at it, but put my best foot forward to prevent me from getting to the surgery temptation zone where my hair loss is at a point where I'm bothered by it every day. Because right now I grow it out kind of long and it covers it really well. I don't have maybe a 2.5, like Norwood 2, a little worse than Norwood 2. Like if my thinning areas were thick again, I would pretty much have the hair I had at 27. So I'd be pretty, I didn't notice hair loss then, but it's those thinning areas that bother me. And I really wish oral minoxidil didn't have those black box label, because I'd be on that right now. But what you're saying is, I really wish there was a perfect product, but there's not. Yeah.
Well, I get it.
It seems like a lot of people say it's perfect, but I watched the Kevin Mann videos about oral minoxidil and about how, there are heart-related problems. And I think, this drug may not kill me in a year, but, maybe 20 years down the road, being on it for a very long time, because I'm going to take Proprecia in the long run here. I would also do that with oral minoxidil. So I'm thinking, well, dutasteride, there are people that take that for a long time, and there are no long-term problems that I'm aware of. And I'm thinking, well, Shapiro recommends 1 dose a week. Is there a reason why he does that? Or
because the half-life is so long on it. It stays in your system quite a while. I'm of the opinion, I'm not a doctor, but my opinion on that is, if finasteride is working, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but just in general, if finasteride's working, don't fuck with it. I'm just kind of, I'm kind of weary, or not weary, but wary of adding more and more to something that's already working. I say take the win, and just don't mess with it. But if
my perspective though is that I'm slowing it down. I don't believe that finasteride is doing nothing, or Proprecia. I'm on brand, so I don't believe it's doing nothing, because I know my family history. Mom's family, everyone's got full heads of hair. Dad's family, Norwood 6, Norwood 7s, everywhere. Varying ages in which it happens. For my dad, though, it happened in his 30s, and that's when I noticed the hair loss, and that's why I got on the treatment.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, my dad's hair, course of maybe 10 to 15 years. Not the worst. It's not the most aggressive, but it is kind of aggressive. And I'm thinking, well, if this Propecia thing isn't working, and I'm watching my hairline like every day and like checking. Don't. It's hard. It's hard not to do it. I work from home. I got plenty of time, and the bathroom mirror is like right near my office. So it's like you kind of walk by the bathroom, and there's the mirror.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, let's take a look. And I actually have looked at old photos when I started treatment, and the thinning looks pretty much the same. But again, there are some days where I'm thinking to myself, like, no way was it this bad. I remember, like, it's.
But then it gets better.
Thinking that it's better. But I've been on it for 2 years now.
Okay,
I'm at the 2-year mark.
But you notice, like, you just said. Okay, hang on. So you just said. Some days it looks like, wow, it looks fine, no different. But then other days it's like, how did it get this bad? But it gets better again. Is that a correct assessment or assumption?
I don't
you're looking
think
at
so.
it. Say you look at it a month and a half later, like, okay, it wasn't like I thought.
I would say it's more like over the last 8 months. I think because the first year and like few months, I was thinking like, oh, I really stopped it. Like, I think that the crown and the mid-scalp area especially, I think that did have improvement because people tell me it looks better. And I didn't really have a lot of hair loss in those areas. I just knew that it looked like weaker and thinner, I guess. No one else noticed it but me. But I think that has improved a lot. But the hairline is the part in the temple regions especially, that those thinning areas, I feel like those areas are progressing a little bit. And the big giveaway to me is that the right side of my hairline, I think, was nearly perfect. It was fine. Now I'm starting to see the thinning kind of show up.
Okay. And how long have you been taking it again? I forgot, because I thought you said a few months.
2 years.
Okay, so 2 years ago you started taking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, my question is, is it time for me to start considering going to? Could I even go to a dermatologist to get it off label, like once a week, dutasteride dose, or what would I like? What should I do here?
If it were me, I would up my dosage of finasteride. Or
Propecia, you mean?
Or yeah, whatever you're taking. So, how are you taking it now? Are you taking it daily, 1 ml?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do is I would talk to my doctor, my prescribing doctor, and I would ask him to switch my prescription to 5 milligram finasteride, name brand Proscar only, so you're not given the generic.
Okay.
Okay. It's the original. It's before Propecia. Like, it's the original. And then get a pill cutter for, $5 or $10 and cut it into quarters. I
actually have one.
Okay. And take 1.25 mg, get, rough cut, give or take, and see how that works out for you. Or talk to him about going up to, just throw in 2.5, cut it in half. It costs about the same for 30 tablets, so you shouldn't have a significant increase in expense. It'll actually cost you less because you're able to quarter it or cut it in half. So you're doubling it or extending it by a factor of 4, reducing your cost by 75%, which is a bonus. You might want to do that anyway.
So they cost the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask about that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I've taken it for 20 years. I've taken Proscar, and I've had different doses and different frequencies over the years, but the original way that I took it, that was originally prescribed to me by Dr. Wong, was a quarter tablet every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not even weekends. And that made it that strengthened the bottom half of my crown a little bit. So there was a net gain in the aesthetic outcome.
Actually, I think one of the biggest gains I didn't even mention was the donor hair. Like, I'm not saying that like I had thin and bad donor hair, but like now the rate at which my hair grows, that's another thing I noticed. I was getting haircuts like once every 5 months. Now it's like I need a haircut every, 2 to 3 months. So that I don't know if that's something that's
try
normal.
adding MSM to your routine. You'll cut that in half.
Yeah.
But
I've never.
But
I don't know what
back
that
to the
is.
cost, the cost issue alone. If you take it every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's over 8 months supply just from 30 tablets. So that's a huge savings on the cost. But even if you were to cut it in half, 2.5 mil daily, and it costs roughly the same for 30 tablets, you just that's cutting your cost in half. Because that same 30 tablets will last you 2 months instead of one. If you quarter it, that's 4 months. Anyway, but that's what I would consider. Talk to your doctor. Like, first off, I'd switch over to Proscar. Just me. You do you, but that's just what I would do since I take it anyway. And save money there, because that's the original. It's not generic. You don't have to worry about that. It's the baseline for what everything else is compared to. But then I would talk to my doctor about saying, should I up it? Because it is slowing my hair loss. I think that's what it sounds like. It's slowing your hair loss. So logically speaking, potentially increasing your dosage might stop it and or kind of revive some of those thinning hairs. Just something to think about. I wouldn't throw another medication into the mix. I would stick with what you got and try to play with that a little bit for the next 6 months. But at what point,
what dose should I consider dutasteride? Like, say I do 2.5 milligrams and I'm still losing ground. At what point do I say, well, I've done everything I can with what I have. I got to start considering another treatment on top of what I'm doing.
Well,
like I wouldn't.
Well, then you consider
dutasteride.
Then you consider just taking the full tablet. And I say that only because I know a lot of guys that take 5 mil Proscar. They just take the whole pill, and it's safe because that's what it came out as. That's what you're cutting. It's already 5 milligrams. It's not like it's dangerous. Just simple logic. Okay, I'm not a doctor, but that's when. That's your comfort level, all right? Do you keep upping your dosage past 1.25 or past 2.5? That's your call and your doctor's. Do you start introducing a secondary treatment? Again, that's your comfort level. That's your decision and your doctor's. When you get to this point, I don't see a problem with it. I preach stick with what you know, which is the finasteride. It is working, it is working. It's just not working as well as you want it to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I would play with that. And then when it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I've given this a chance to do what it's going to do all the time it needs, not quite there for me yet. So you got to make a decision. Do I call it good and just ride this out where it's mainly maintaining my hair as is, because that's what you want. Little bit of creep. Okay. I mean, you're not 20. How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Okay. So do I let it kind of creep a little bit and stay the course? That's your call. Will adding dutasteride to the mix help? Maybe. The downside of this is, do you want to stop taking it if you don't see it adding a benefit? Will that cause an issue? I'm not saying it will. I don't know. But I've seen...
Wait, stop taking dutasteride?
Yeah. If you start taking dutasteride...
I would probably stand the course. I probably wouldn't... If I was taking it once a week, I probably would just stick with it. Because that's what Shapiro was saying to that guy. Like, just do it once a week. I'd be like, all right, that's not expensive, and I could do once a week. That's only like buying Avodart twice a year, basically. It's not a huge commitment. And then consider, okay, if it's still not working, because I see guys, they work their way up. They start with one a week, then some of them say, oh, I started with one a week, still was losing ground, but then they went to 3 times a week, and they were like, that was the sweet spot. Now I'm stable.
Right.
And some guys, unfortunately, I've heard people call in here saying they've done 2.5 a day on dutasteride, and they're still losing ground. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, at that point, you did everything you could. And that tells you that sometimes it's not just DHT.
that's causing the issue. And we don't know the other ancillary details of these people that are not responding. Like, are they going through a lot of stress in their life, or just are they more sensitive to things more so than the average person? Like, are
I think that's what it is.
More sensitive to cortisol buildup because of stress, or is it the receptors themselves, and that's where CosmoRNA might come in handy as an adjunct to reduce the sensitivity of these receptors.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where all the treatments, these future treatments, they're all like the 5-alpha reductase enzyme has been covered completely. There's nothing else you can do. And that
it's pretty much beat
part
to
of the
death.
equation.
Yeah.
So the only other route to go is to go to the receptor route or the hair growth stimulant route.
Yeah.
And there was only one drug that I've heard of that actually did something very weird. It was like a prolactin receptor drug that when they did it on chimps or something, it had extremely good results. Now, I think it's only in like phase 1, and some guy said he was getting good results on it, but on Reddit, but he never shared any photos. So I don't know how legit that is.
It's complete bullshit. Unless someone that's saying that they're involved somehow with being able to get it can show you their verified, here's my newspaper, today's date, and in actual results, it's all horseshit. It's never ever.
Well, that's the thing. He showed paperwork of him signing up for the phase 1B trials with Dr. Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made people listen to him, because he had proof that quote unquote proof that he was legit and he was part of the trial.
Well,
and apparently he got in huge trouble for talking about, I think it was because he was talking about the results with people on Reddit and, this whole data, confidentiality and stuff. And he almost got kicked out of the trial.
Yeah, it was probably because he showed the paperwork that he signed. That's probably why he got in trouble.
Yeah.
Little thing called non-disclosures, But but it's interesting you brought that up, because that has something to do with one of my future guests. So be sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, these will be great questions
about the prolactin receptor.
I'm not saying anything else. I'm not going.
It's Dr. Sinclair. Then that's probably what it is.
I'm not saying I know nothing. I say nothing.
I will call and I will ask him about the drug, I might not get anything out of it.
I'm just saying that there's a potential that there will be a very well-versed individual in such matters that will be on the show sometime soon. We shall see. So be sure, if you're, and on that note, if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for all notifications, because you'll want to get this notification. It'll be a good one. Yep. All right. So, sorry, what was your name again? I'm bad with names.
Neil.
Neil. Okay, Neil. Okay, try to remember that. Neil Sedaka. Okay, Neil Sedaka. All right. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Sedaka. That's not.
No, I know. It's my correlation trick. I try to remember names like that.
All right.
All right. So thank you for calling. It's a great.
Thank you for helping.
Great way to wind up the show. Yeah, I hope I was helpful. We went way over time. It's 5:36.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. No, I had fun. I enjoyed it. My dog doesn't like it very much. She wants to go out, but that's fine. She'll get over it. Thank you for the call. All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Phones are off. Do not call. I appreciate everyone sticking around. I appreciate the phone calls. I think we got some great ones. And I appreciate every one of you, especially Anand from, or Anand. Anand? I think it's Anand. From hairlosscure2020.com. Go check out that website. And of course, and I think he's listed down below in my description, along with some other websites that you should visit that also support what we're doing here on the YouTubes. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Got another great show coming up, hopefully, with your support. Give us some calls and talk to you later. Out of here. Bye.